All right. So another feature that you guys can add to your modules is your discussions. Discussions are just a great way to get kind of the kids interacting with one another. So the same way you do the plus sign in your module, and then instead of choosing assignment or page, you choose discussion. And you'll notice at the beginning of each one of these things we're creating, it's got a different kind of little icon here. So assignments look kind of like a page with a pen through it. Discussions look like that little, you know, thought bubble. Whoops, hold on just a second. I hit something wrong. All right. So I think that discussions are a great way to introduce a topic or check for understanding or have students interact with one another in an educational way. So here's an example that I put in after tortoise and the hare. These are kinds of fun little things you can find if you go to giphy.com. And you wanted to embed something cute like that, then you can. Some of these can be inappropriate. So make sure you're finding ones that are, you know, kind of matching up with what you're wanting to say. And then I asked the kids, what is one word you would use to describe the tortoise? What is one word you would use to describe the hare? Which character did you like better? Why did you like that character better? So they would just hit this reply button and they would type their answers straight in there. Once they post reply, then the students will see it. Oh, I have it set up, and this is kind of just if you're thinking like best practices, depends on what you want. But you can, users must post before seeing replies. I like to do that so I get their original thought before then once they post theirs, then they can see all their classmates. Another option to do these discussions is to use Flipgrid, which I'm not going into detail for this training, but I know that there have been Flipgrid integration trainings, so the kids can just record themselves answering those questions also. So again, those option choices, threaded replies. I like threaded replies because there's student interaction. So you can ask a student, you know, to post their own response and then respond to a peer. Like, I agree with you. I think the hare was silly to sit down and take a nap because, you know, he thought he was so much better than the tortoise or whatever. You know, like you get the students kind of interacting with each other. I like users must post before seeing replies because it assures original student thought. You can choose for this to be a graded assignment, or you can just use it, like I said, that kind of check for understanding idea where it's not graded, but I just want to see, like, are you on the right track with this? And then if you're not grading it, you want to add it to the student to-do list. If it is graded, it's automatically going to end up on the student to-do list. But if you're not grading it and you say add to student to do, they'll have it on their calendar that you better do this, or they'll have it on their little to do. All right. We got, hold on. All right. So now we're on to quizzes. So what we're going to do with quizzes is you can add it the same way with that little plus in the module, but you have this option over on the left, the quizzes option. And the reason I would suggest you use that is then it's going to link you to the Quizzes Next, or the new Quizzes platform that is embedded in Canvas. And the new Quizzes, or the Quizzes Next, has a little more functionality and different types of quiz questions. So if you click on that, then it's going to give you the option to add a quiz. When you're choosing it from that left-hand screen, you can choose to go with classic quizzes, or you can choose new quizzes. Now, for anybody who's been like a previous user of Canvas, you may have been creating in classic quizzes, and both of them are available right now. Ultimately, classic quizzes is going to go away, but you will be able to import classic quizzes into new quizzes. So if you have old quizzes, like my husband has a million old quizzes, he's going to have to import all of them before we switch over. But I think that's still a bit off. Nice thing about the creating quizzes, especially in the new quizzes, I really feel like it walks you through step by step. So when you're in the builder, it prompts you to write a title, and it prompts you to write instructions, and then you're always going to have this little plus thing. So title, then plus, instructions, then plus, and then every time you hit plus after that, it's going to give you your new answer question, or your answer, question options. So you have categorization. So if we were doing, like I created a nouns quiz that I'll show you, and I did like proper nouns and common nouns. So those were my two categories, and then I gave them a list of words, and they had to put them in common nouns or proper nouns. File upload, this is where students might upload something that they completed. Formula would be like your math questions. Matching, maybe you were doing definitions or something. Multiple choice. Ordering, so you know, first, what happened first, second, third. Got essay. So some of these are going to be self-graded by the program, and then some will be teacher graded. So if you choose an essay question, then that will have to be graded by you. Fill in the blank. Hotspot is where maybe you put an image. Let's say it was like a world map and you wanted them to identify North America, South America, Antarctica, the different continents. You could create the hotspots. Multiple answer. So maybe, you know, who are the characters in this story, and you list all the characters, and the students have to choose which people were characters. A numeric answer, and then a true false answer. Stimulus is your last kind, and that's where you might put content into it, like maybe a reading excerpt, and then you would ask questions about that reading excerpt. Then you have your quiz settings. So those were all your question types, but then you have quiz settings. So here are some best practice ideas. It's gonna be different when you're doing everything virtually versus in a classroom. If you're in a classroom, I definitely suggest shuffling questions and shuffling answers, because your kids are right next to each other, and then that would kind of change the order that they're seeing everything in. When you have one question at a time, this is a nice option, because then it puts the instructions above every question that they're seeing, instead of seeing the whole quiz as if they were looking like at the whole page or something. And maybe they're reading the instructions to start with, and then they do the whole quiz. With this one question at a time, it's got the instructions and then the question. And when they click on next question, it still has those instructions and a question. So this is a nice option, especially if you have like conversion factors or formulas or something like that, that the kids can always reference, and they won't forget, oh, I got to go back and look at the instructions for that information. The only thing I would suggest with that one question at a time is when you click it, it gives you the option to allow backtracking or not. Now, that's kind of like 100% up to you, but just knowing from my husband's perspective, who has been taking his master's, he hates it when the teachers say not to allow backtracking, because sometimes a question you get later reminds you of something, and you want to be able to go back and maybe fix something that you did before. If you don't allow backtracking, they won't be able to go back and do that. Requiring a student access code. So this is where you create a password And you might do this so that students can't just go in and take the quiz whenever they want to. Maybe you're gonna have your quiz day for science on Thursday, and they all log into the Zoom, and you give them the code, and then they all log in and take the quiz at that same time. You can set up time limits. Filter IP addresses wouldn't really apply in this case because we're not like in a computer lab. You can allow a calculator if you're on a math quiz or a science quiz that has formulas. And then you can allow multiple attempts. If you're using this as kind of like a check for understanding, and maybe we do a little more learning and then we want them to take it again, you can allow multiple attempts. The nice thing about allowing multiple attempts is you can create a certain time must elapse before they can take it again. So they're not just going in and taking it over and over again. Like maybe they have to wait an hour. So maybe that means they go and study or something like that. And then restrict student results view. So when they take the quiz, you can choose here, you know, do I let them see which ones they missed? Do I let them see which ones they missed and tell them the right answer? You know, so you're gonna decide what version you want them to see of their results. This is testing security is an issue we're talking about just as a district. So I'm talking with Ryan on this about what we'll do in order to make sure that tests stay secure. One option, instead of doing a bunch of quizzes, would be to do something more project-based, where they're showing and their understanding of the content and the standard. You might also want to choose to test during Zoom sessions, so you can kind of monitor your students and kind of see what their eyes are doing. Collaboration in quizzes, I think, like Ryan said too, like, you know, maybe I really like math and I'm going to do all the math content in the math quizzes. You really like English language arts, you're going to build that. We can do the same thing with quizzes, where if we're working together as a team to create our assessment of certain standards, we can create banks of questions. So that's nice because then you can pull from that bank every time and you're not having to create new questions every time. You can share the banks with other teachers. So let's say, for instance, I say, you know what, I'll do the Unit 1 math test and I'll make the question bank. Then I can share that with other teachers. So I'll just show that to you really quickly. In my secondary class, hold on. So I created a noun review quiz. And like I said, when you're building it, it's really nice and it prompts you through everything. So I made my title, I wrote my instructions, and then every plus I made here, I did a new multiple choice question. And then when I got down to the end, I did some categorization for common nouns and proper nouns, and for concrete nouns and abstract nouns, for instance. Each time I created that question, so let's say I wanted to do a new question here, and I wanted to do matching, let's say, for instance. I might have matching parts of speech. And then I might say Disneyland, and this is going to be a proper noun. And then I might say flower. This is a common noun. When I'm making this, I can choose to bank this. I would have to fix it here. Let me make those go away real quick. Okay. I can add it to. Oh, sorry, let me fix that. To match the noun if it's. And then I add to bank, and I want to go into an existing bank. As I create them, I'm creating these banks and I can add to it. Now that's in a bank. Up here, in my item banks, I've got a math number sense, I've got parts of speech nouns. If I wanted to share this with my team, my 3rd grade team, then I would just type in their names here and it would come up. And then they would get a little notification that something has been shared with them. That's what this little 1 is above my account. So I know someone shared something with me. If I shared something I made, then that would just be there and available for them. I think if I click on it, shared content, and then I can just add it in. Preview, import, or remove. So that's something that will help with that collaboration piece. The other nice thing about banks is once you have those questions created, if I wanted to now make a new, like, let's say I wanted to make a review quiz after I did all the parts of speech, then I can pull in a few of the noun questions, a few of the adverb questions, a few of the adjective questions, and they're already created. All right, questions on discussions and quizzes then.
Amanda, what types of questions do they have? Multiple choice, and then there was
multiple
like matching, drag and drop,
categorization. So you would like choose your categories, odd and even numbers or something like that, and then they put them in the categories. File upload might be something where like you give them something they printed off and then they maybe had to upload it. A formula would be those math questions. Matching.
In the matching, do they like drag and drop, drag things to match them together? Or?
Let's see. I think so. Yeah. Let me go back to that quiz. So when you're there, you can preview the quiz so you know what it looks like for the students. So matching, so they would get a drop down here.
Oh, okay.
Noun, and then that's a proper noun. So that's how matching would work.
And then they can type an answer in, multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
Are they able in the quiz to draw their answer? Like if you were asking them in math to show groups or something, do they have a draw thing that you can draw a picture?
Essay, which would be like a short answer, or you could do, I don't know that there's a draw feature though.
I'm just the quizzes I created in Jupyter, a lot of them do have draw your answer or whatever. So I don't know if it would go over into this if it doesn't have the same function.
Yeah, I have to look at what you created and then we could probably get the solution.
We can do that. Thanks.
I have a question on the discussions.
Yeah.
Can you, is there a way for the teacher, if they want to see what the student is putting up before it goes before the rest of the class?
No. There is a way for you to delete their comments, but and their responses, but no. If you're wanting to do that, then I would go ahead and use something like Flipgrid instead, where you can select that you have to view it before it's posted.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
It posts before you see it.
Amanda, when we share, can we set up groups and share to our group instead of putting the names in every single person every time?
We can create groups, I think, in Canvas. Yeah.
Thank you.
But also, Anne, when you're typing in their name, it's like you get the first 3 letters in there and then the list of people show up. So it's not too much, but we'll try to create the groups.
For some reason, I can't type today, so the message I keep sending out says neared. I know that someone asked a question about drawing a response. I know you can do it in Nearpod, and Nearpod is right there in Canvas, so they can draw their responses that way.
That's true. You could put in Nearpod a link to like a Nearpod lesson and they can draw into Nearpod. That's true. My brakes are all messed up, so we already took one. All right, so I talked a little bit before about publishing your course, and I said like when you're looking at your dashboard, let me exit the preview, you've got your published and your unpublished classes. So just a reminder, like yesterday I was testing a bunch of stuff out. My poor daughter is like my guinea pig. Like I put her in all my classes and say, see if this works and see if this works. Again, the student view thing will work, but sometimes it's nice to just see it on a real person. So she went to it and she's like, I don't see anything. And it's because like I forgot to publish my modules and stuff like that. So just a reminder, publishing your courses, your kids won't see the course until you have it published. So as much as you guys go in and create over the next, 3 days and then in the coming weeks, you can leave it unpublished for the time being. Again, you're just creating in a template course for now. And then we'll import the content from the template course you guys create into your Infinite Campus created courses. So until we see those, it's not really going to matter. You can leave your template course unpublished. And then once we get the courses created in Infinite Campus and you see that new class pop up on your dashboard, your Elementary 1000 or whatever the course is with the students in it, then you'll import the content and you'll want to make sure you publish that course. Remember, when you are publishing your course, you're going to have time to continue to build it. So like I said before, you can have week 1 published, even if you have week 2 and 3 ready. You don't have to have those published until week 2 comes up and then week 3. The only thing I want you guys to remember is once you have something published and a student turns something in, then you can't unpublish it. So once a student actually interacts and turns something in, then it is published for the duration of the course. You know something's published or not published by these little icons. So the gray with the line through it is not published. If you want to turn something into published, you just click it and it turns into that green with the check mark. If you create modules and you publish them, but you want to take them away to ease the confusion of the future, then it's green and check marked. You can uncheck mark it by just clicking on that, and then it will turn into gray. So I talked a little bit about if you want to know what students see, you can click on this student view. So this is very, let me see if I'm in my, get to the elementary course. So over here on the right, you see this student view, and that's going to allow you then to see what students see. So it clicks on it, it creates what is called a test student in your course. So you're gonna see when you do this in your own course, like you'll see all your kids and then somewhere in the people list, you'll see test student. Or on your grade book, you'll see test student. You can make that go away by clicking reset. But here now you see like I only see module, that first module, which I think is messy and I don't like it. So I can leave student view. And if I decided that's not how I want to publish this way. Now, if I click on student view, now I see that module the way I wanted it to be set up for the students. So Monday with the Monday schedule, Tuesday schedule, and so on. So the content, Katie, if I'm understanding your question correctly, the content's all gonna stay here, but it just depends on how long you leave it open for students to actually be able to turn something in. So for instance, if I'm in the tortoise and hare comprehension check, oh, see, this assignment is part of an unpublished module that is not available yet. See, those are the things you,
So it disappears after the due date.
it doesn't disappear. It still shows up here. It just doesn't allow them to turn it in anymore. So
Oh,
it's still there.
because like if you gave 2 weeks, they might wait 2 weeks before doing it, and it wouldn't be just the person that, say, was on vacation or something.
Right. So you have to decide kind of what you're willing to accept as far as late work and those kinds of things go.
Okay.
But let's see. So this submit assignment button is here. And I think I had said that they could submit it until the 24th. So maybe on the 25th, if someone went in and tried to do it, this information would all still be here, but this blue button would be gone.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it just wouldn't let them turn it in anymore.
Okay.
Could you change the due date? Could you edit that?
Yep, you can edit that anytime you want to. You can also extend it for a particular student. Let's say they had like, you know, a true legitimate reason. So I'm assigning to everyone and it's due June 20th. And let's say I'm walking it on Friday, but I know that, you know, Johnny's really ill and can't do any work right now. I might add him. I would assign to just Johnny. Once I had kids in this class, names would pop up here. And then I would say, okay, Johnny, his due date is the following Friday or something. So you can add specialized due dates for certain kids in your class. And that would work also for like your students with IEPs who are allowed extra time and stuff like that. So the student views are really just a nice way to see like, is it working the way I think it should be working? So we talked a little bit about this submit assignment. So you've got that blue button, that blue submit assignment button. And then I wanted to show you one of the, and you can, again, you can lock things, you can change due dates if let's say we fall behind or whatever and you need to kind of adjust your due dates. One nice little trick I will show you, let's say on my calendar. And I forget I can do this sometimes. But let's say here's my noun review quiz and I'm like, oh, wait, we didn't get to that. I want to change my due date. You can just drag and drop it and now it has a new due date. So that's kind of nice. I'm not sure why my LO. So whatever courses you want to see, you've got all your calendars over here. So some things are showing up and some things aren't. So anyways, I think my elementary class is not published, so that's why it's not showing up. Let me fix that really quickly. Okay, now if I go into calendar, and then I want to look at my elementary course, they're going to be that color. And I want to be able to see that stuff come up, and I want my secondary practice course. is why we need to keep our courses clean, people. Right, okay. So here's my courses. If I wanted to change due dates, again, like I said, I could just say, oh, we're not starting school until next week. So I'm moving that, and then that's gonna change my due date, just within those assignments. So it's kind of a nice way if you're just kind of dealing in calendar, to just change your assignment due dates. That's the changing it for everybody. If you want to change it for one individual person, you actually have to go in and edit the assignment and click that add person. So how do students submit work? So depending on what you choose, really, if you're choosing that they submit online, they can upload a file. So they can choose their files here. Let's say they do a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation or something. They can add other files. So they can submit multiple files if there's multiple things you're asking them to turn in. If it's something like just a few questions and you just want them to copy and paste it into a text box and they can answer it right there, then you can do text entry. A website URL might be if they create something like using, trying to think of like some things that we've used in the past, like the maybe like an Adobe Spark or something like that. You can do like a website URL. Media would be if they're recording something. So maybe they're recording a video and showing you like what they created, or they're just recording a video of themselves reading. You would allow media. Studio, again, they can create studio videos just like we can. The CK12 practice, this is a curriculum provider that we're linked with, and I will show you that at the end. And there's a way to embed those assignments. And then Office 365, if they choose that, then it's gonna link them to their Office 365 documents, and it would list all their documents in here. They would just click the one that they're wanting to upload, like a little box in front of it, and then they would turn that in. I have to log out as me really quickly because I wanna show you one option, but I have to do it under my daughter's account because that just seems to be how it's working. So that idea of those cloud assignments, I really like this because it keeps the students in Canvas. So let me log into Canvas really quickly. But I'm gonna log in as her. Okay, so she has, in this secondary course, this necklace video questions assignment. So what I'm telling them is I embedded all these videos in, and they're supposed to watch them to get the information on character motivation, inferences, and irony, right? And then they're supposed to do this video assignment. So by creating a cloud assignment, it actually embeds the assignment in here. They can click edit document, edit, and then she would be able, or the student would be able to type right here. It's actually putting it in their own OneDrive, but it's making the changes right here for them. So an example of intrinsic motivation might be like, I feel accomplished when I finish my book, right? Extrinsic motivation, I earned $5 when I finished my chores. So intrinsic and extrinsic motivation now is they've got their examples there. That student could then submit it, and then I would get the submission piece, or I would get notified that something's been submitted, and I would see. What I was kind of practicing with this yesterday is if the student hits submit too fast, sometimes not all their answers end up in there, even though it ultimately saves it to their OneDrive, so they could hit submit again. So they could just go through and answer all those questions straight in there, hit submit, and then finished, right? Their answers are still in there. So if I had to come back and say, ooh, I didn't see all your answers, they could be like, oh, let me just resubmit really quickly. But let me log out as her now and show you on my end what I see. So now I see one person has turned in the necklace video notes. I can click on that and I can see Caitlin Klopp turned it in, and there's her answers right there. So I would just scroll through the document to see all her answers, and we'll talk more about SpeedGrader in a little bit. But those are all options for the ways students will turn in their assignments. I really like this Office 365 cloud assignment idea. But again, I'm looking at it from probably a more secondary perspective, and I know that the little ones might not be so keen on the typing. If a student wants to turn in a new version, so remember we were talking about that submit assignment button. Let's say they submit something and it tells them, you turned this in on July 17th. Here's a copy of what you turned in. And if they're like, oh, I turned the wrong thing in, or oh, I forgot to do something, or I want to add something, then they can just go back into that assignment and hit this blue resubmit assignment button, and it will allow them to resubmit a new version or a new file. The nice thing for you as the teacher is you see, let me show you that for instance. Go to my dashboard. So on that one, I think it was this one I did it. Nope, it wasn't. Trying to remember which one I did that on. But you can see their multiple turn-ins. So if under, they're under dashboard, you would be able to see, or when you're in the SpeedGrader, you would have a drop-down link that links you to their first turn-in, their second turn-in, and so on, so that you can see the multiple versions they turned in. When students see their grade, they'll have their grade here and they'll see the comments. So if, for instance, I had given this student a 0, this is the wrong assignment, please resubmit it with the correct file, they would know they need to go back in and resubmit. So when they're looking at their specific grade and their like individual grade printout, they see their number grade or their points, and then they see any comments associated with that so that they know they need to go back. How do you as the teacher know that work has been submitted or needs to be graded? That's in your to-do list. So students have a to-do list that lists all their assignments that they have coming up for the week. You have your to-do list, which is going to be on that dashboard right here. I've got 1 grade exploring trade schools, 1 grade final speech sign up, 1 grade the necklace video notes. And then obviously the 1 is going to change depending on how many students have turned something in. So it might say I have 30 of those to grade. All right, so using Student View, students turning in work, do you guys have any questions on any of that?
Approximately, how many students will we have?
We kept it according to like your classroom levels. So we kept with the contract on that. So you shouldn't, if you're, what is it, TK?
I have 3rd.
Yeah, so then I think it was the 30, I don't remember what the number is for 3rd grade, the limit, but we are not going above that limit.
To help with that answer, Amanda, TK3 really doesn't have a limit. You know, we've always tried to keep the numbers between, you know, around 24.
Mhm.
Fourth and fifth grade are at 33 with potential, you know, going above. But hopefully right now, we'll be able to adjust that to keep the numbers relatively typical
Okay.
that you've experienced in previous years.
Yeah, when we pulled the number of students in each grade level, we tried to do it by the traditional numbers that.
And based on the numbers of students who actually, or families who choose the online of 100%, we may have to make additional staffing
Mhm.
transitions, you know, if you will. Because right now, when we first developed these master schedules, there were about 1,400 students who wanted the 100% online for the school year. And it actually grew last week to over 2,600, I believe, in just one day. So more to come on that.
Yeah. Great.
Kip, if I could just say something regarding that.
Yeah.
I did have some parents contact me. They were really confused. So just so you know that.
Yeah, we
Once
know
they
there's
went-
lots of confusion,
Okay.
especially because now everyone's going to be online,
Yes.
you know, for the first 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, depending on how long Riverside County is on the watch list. So we'll have additional communications with specifically those parents. Some people reached out to me this morning saying that they're, like one parent from Lasenia has already stated that since everyone's going to be on distance learning, they'd actually like to go back onto that plan instead of the 100%. So yeah, over the
Okay.
next few weeks, we're going to have to monitor that.
Okay, because I did have parents call me and they said since it was distance learning,
I
they
bet.
signed up for virtual, but I guess that's not really what they wanted, but assumed they had to sign up.
Yeah, what we're trying to do, Sandra, is we're trying to differentiate 100% online learning or distance learning with you guys, and then distance learning for the other kiddos. But
that they know.
100% means that I, as a parent, are choosing this for the school year due to mostly safety reasons.
Okay, and I think that's where the confusion was. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
there will be lots of confusion. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, though.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions before we move on? All right. So then for you guys, grading work. The speed grader, I really like the speed grader. I think even if I was in a traditional classroom, I would probably be a paperless classroom. Just because it makes it easy and I can take my work with me and not be dragging papers and papers and papers. I want to show you a couple of examples here, but it allows you to see the entire assignment, kind of as you guys saw before. You can use the markup feature. Here you see kind of this menu of options, and that is at the top of your speed grader. Over on the right-hand side of your speed grader, so on the left-hand side of your screen will be the document that they either upload or embed. And then on the right-hand side is a place that tells you when they turned it in, what the document is, so you could actually like download it if you needed to look at something or print something off for any particular reason, which you shouldn't have to. And then you've got a place to put your grade, and you've got a place to put any comments to the student. So I'm going to link you here to a student's essay, for instance. And if I were to want to make some comments, then I might just use like this little feature here. And I could just type right here, like, this is a great choice, right? You can also, if you're actually editing and wanting to, oh yeah, sorry about that, Christy. So if we are over here on our to-do list, anything I click on here is going to take me into that speed grader for that particular assignment. So then I'd have this, I only have Caitlin enrolled in my class, but this would be your whole list of students, whether they turned it in or not. And then they'll have this little orange circle if they've turned something in, and they'll kind of be grayed out if they haven't turned something in. Once I grade Caitlin's, for instance, if I gave her a 12, then she's got a little green check mark to know I've graded her. You can come over here to settings. I think it's this one. And you can sort the student list. You can sort it by submission status. So I use that because then I get all my kids that have turned something in up at the top, and I'm not having to scroll through the whole list. So it puts all the kids that need to be graded, then all the kids that haven't turned it in yet, and then at the bottom is all the kids who've already turned it in and have a grade done. So that's kind of a nice little feature, just because then you can do the next arrow, next arrow, next arrow. Whereas if you have them in alphabetical and you're using that next arrow over here on the right, then you might have someone turned it in, 3 kids didn't, someone turned it in. So it makes it a little cleaner. So then you also have options for, like, if you wanted to highlight a paragraph or something, I could say like a note. I really like this introduction, but if you could add a thesis statement or a clearer thesis statement, so you can highlight and leave a comment. You can embed text, like if you wanted them to use a different word or this subject verb agreement, you might give them a couple of examples of better subject verb agreement. You can also strike through. So like maybe I don't like that word choice. Then I can strike through and say like, find a synonym or something like that. When students get this back, when they're looking at their grades, there'll be a little blue view feedback link next to that assignment name. And then that is going to take them to this page that has all the annotations and markups and stuff like that. If you wanted them to do their spelling test as a document, then you could, but I don't know if you'd be using like quizzes or instead of just documents. Karen.
Amanda?
Yeah.
Would we be, when you do those things, can the kids delete our comments? And also, will we see what they changed it from to, like, so Carefree, they put a different one in there. Can we see those changes in?
So this is its own standalone assignment. If they make changes, they would have to resubmit. So you would have this version if you're looking at their first version, and then you would see their new version, their resubmitted version with their changes. They can't delete your comments, but they can add comments. So if they, wanted to say, is this a better thesis, and then give an idea, then you could see that comment. But it's not like Google Docs where it's like they took care of it and then they can get rid of that comment. You can always see your comments here.
Is there any kind of an auto grade function where you can ask for a specific answer and put a predefined correct answer in?
In quizzes, you can make your quizzes, your assignments in the quizzes feature, and then you'd get the auto grading.
Okay.
They're not auto grading for like short answer, but yeah, like multiple choice or fill in the blank.
Right.
So you're putting predetermined like words in and stuff like that. Then yeah, that would be auto graded. All right, let's see. I really like rubrics. I discovered rubrics this year, and not that I just discovered rubrics, but like I discovered rubrics in Canvas this year. So it is one nice way to kind of simplify the grading. If you've got these certain kind of assignments and you always use this rubric, you can embed that rubric into every single one of those types of assignments. So rubrics is going to be on the left-hand link in that left-hand side menu. And you should be able to see, I don't think I have any rubrics in this class, but let me find one where I do have rubrics. So here I have rubrics. I've got my week 2 rubric, week 3 rubric, and I had students turning in different assignments. So I couldn't use the same rubric every week. But if I did, like maybe I always had these comprehension questions after every story, and I had a certain comprehension rubric that I created, or I had like a math assignment rubric I created, then you can create your different criteria and the points that you're willing to award for those different criteria. So the way that rubric idea looks in SpeedGrader, go back to it, is when you're looking at a particular student and so you would view rubric, and I already have these filled in because these are from last year, but I've got my criteria for this essay was purpose, organization, content, individuality, and conventions, because this was a personal statement, like a college entrance personal statement. And then I decided, okay, each criteria is worth a possible 4 points. So mastery, emerging, below mastery, insufficient, or no mark. And then you can just click it and it gives them points. Like that, right? And then you can make little comments. Let's say this person was below mastery on their grammar and you had specific comments about that. You could write comments in right there. And then save it. And then the students, when they go to their grade, have an option to view rubric. And then they're gonna see, I got a 4 on this, I got a 3 on this part, I got a 2 on this part, and it'll have the teacher comments there. To create rubrics, let me show you guys how to do that really quickly. So you can do them here. You can add a rubric here. So let's say weekly comprehension assignment. And we've got our criteria. So I edit it, and then I want to say student shows understanding of story. I want to update that. And then I might add a criteria, new assignment is complete. Maybe I add use of evidence in responses. Okay, and then you can do your ratings here. So if I wanted to make each criterion worth 5 points, I could. I can change that number of points here. I can make that worth maybe 4. And then you can add what the rating description means. So what is a 4, right? Like the student shows a clear understanding of the characters and the development and the sequence of events and those kinds of things. And then I might want to add the 2. And we would call that's full marks. Maybe this is partial marks, or complete understanding and partial understanding, or however you want to determine it. And then you can edit each one of those. You can make this one with a high point of 4. You can make this one with a high point of 2. We're doing complete or incomplete. Evidence and responses might be worth more because they're showing, you know, like a deeper understanding. So then you get your total points for the assignment, and then you can create the rubric. Then if I wanted to assign that to an assignment, let me just come over here to my list of assignments. And let's say we put it here. I make this worth, I think that was worth 14 points, that rubric was. On points. And, oh, I know where it is. So I save that. Oh. So at the bottom of that assignment, I can add the rubric, and I want to choose which rubric I'm putting in there. So from my 9A class. So every time you're creating rubrics, it adds them all in there, and you've got all your classes. So it can get a little crazy. Let's see if I can find that one. Weekly comprehension assignment. Use this rubric, and now it's there. So now every time a student turns one of those in, that will show up on that speed grader, the view rubric, and I'll be able to grade using that rubric. All right, so we've got the syncing to Infinite Campus. So a couple things with that. When you're over here on your page and you've got this grade sync, you can set that up to sync automatically. And again, I know, when we're dealing with primary, things might be a little bit different, but I just want you guys to kind of have this knowledge. So we can set it up to sync daily, and you do that by clicking schedule daily sync and save. And that just means that every night between midnight and 7 a.m., those grades, that anything you've done in Canvas will push over to Infinite Campus. The way that you know if things are going over is in assignments. You see we've got this little green check mark. If I hover over it, it says sync to Infinite Campus, click to toggle. Here it's gray. It means that it's not going to sync. So once I click it, I have to make sure it has a due date. See, tells you when you don't have something right. So it needs to have a due date in order to make sure that it's going to sync over. Now we're really just getting complicated because I'm in an old class. I'm not even sure which class I'm in. Okay, well, it has to have a due date. Sorry, guys. It has to have a due date. And then once that due date is within your course term, so August 12th to December 18th or whenever we get off this coming year, these things, so long as they're the green check mark, it will sync over. If it's gray, then it won't sync over. The other option is when you're there in assignments, when you're creating it, that thing will be automatically green if you've got the due date and you click include this assignment when syncing to your school's student information system. So long as that's marked and it falls within your grade, your grading period, then it should be the green check mark there. So I mentioned that you could have it schedule daily, but there are some times, like when kids turn in a big assignment, then they're like, did that change my grade? Or they're like really anxious about it. So you can always, even if you have that scheduled daily sync, you can always do a manual sync at any point by just clicking that submit button, and it will sync automatically. I found this awesome kind of quick guide to syncing your grades to Infinite Campus. So I'm gonna create, I'll send out this PowerPoint, but I'm also gonna create kind of like a resources page. So I'm gonna put that in it. But just so you know, there's kind of some steps when you're syncing with Infinite Campus that, like Ryan was saying, like you kind of have to have these categories. When you sync over, automatically when the assignments go over, it creates this uncategorized assignments group, you click that and it creates this drop down, and then you will assign where each assignment has to go. So it goes in the term 1, and is it going into classwork, or is it going into homework, or is it going into tests and quizzes? Then you would have to assign each assignment. But that's a one-time thing for each assignment. And then once you categorize them, then the grades are automatically syncing over every time. All right, SpeedGrader and grade sync questions.
So grades are going in Infinite Campus? We
So-
haven't used that. I haven't used that grade book before.
Yeah, so that's how it is set up with the secondary. I'm not sure, and I don't know if Ryan's.
Because I use Infinite Campus to take attendance.
Mhm. And you will still be using Infinite Campus to take attendance.
And I use it for report cards, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's okay. For the elementary, that's okay. I just wanted you guys to kind of have the understanding that
You can.
you can. Yeah.
But you can use it, yeah, Katie. Many of our elementary teachers don't utilize the IC grade program. Maybe 1, 2, 3 that I know fifth grade teachers have played in it. And so because we're going to be on all Canvas options, this is an option for you to help with that SpeedGrader because it actually goes into the grade book, and then of course it'll go into the IC. So that'll be up to you individually as a teacher if you'd like to use it.
But that's, so that's the only place to put the grades. There's no,
Yeah, for like a grade book, if you will. Yeah.
yeah,
And
there's,
at the elementary level, we'll still be at a standards based, not necessarily the grading. So that's most of the reasons why our elementary teachers haven't used the IC program, because it's not we don't have a standards based platform.
Yeah. And Canvas has its own grade book. It's just like, as a secondary teacher, when I was using it, before we had this grade sync, I was keeping a grade book in Canvas, and then I was keeping a grade book in Infinite Campus. So the sync feature really helped me. But again, as a secondary teacher, grading is different than as an elementary teacher. So you're going to continue to use it, what works for you, but just know that when you get assignments turned in to be graded, that will be going to the Canvas grade book. Students will see like their scores on assignments. But if you're not making a big deal about like overall grades and that kind of stuff, then it's not really going to affect them in any.
okay.
So in addition to the Canvas, we can still use like Jupyter Ed or whatever for now.
I think that, yeah, that's still a part of, if that's something that your school is using, then yes. Because, understanding that while you guys are the virtual teachers, you are still linked to your school, even though you will be teaching students from all the schools. You may have, as elementary teachers, you may have as many as, our TK teacher is going to have like kids from all the schools, because right now we only have one TK teacher, right? So, but that TK teacher is still linked to her original school site. She's just going to be teaching kids from all the school sites during this time.
And also to go with that, the kids will be connected to their school. So it still looks like they're getting their parent score notifications that teacher has been assigned to their school. So we're trying to make this transition as seamless as possible, because families still want to know that I'm still going to Earl Warren or Luisenio,
Yeah.
Elsnorel, etc. I think that'll help.
Amanda, when you said that you assign, you said it's only a one-time thing, when you said you have to assign each assignment only one time, is that one time for each lesson, or is that one time for each subject? So Canvas picks up, anytime you're doing this, then it goes into IC?
It's one time for every assignment that you are creating to sync over.
Okay.
So if I've got like one reading assignment every day, one math assignment every day that's going in, and I want to sync to IC, then yes, it's going to be each reading assignment. I have to say, this goes into their reading category. This goes into the math category. This goes into the, science category.
Gotcha, thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think I have a break in the next little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and give, because it's been probably about a little over an hour, I wanna go ahead and give you guys just another quick 5-minute break.
Amanda?
Yeah.
I missed the first half hour because I went off of Alan's schedule. It said it was 8:30 today. So did I miss much in that first half hour, or was that like,
It was mostly just the menus,
okay,
so not too much. No.
okay.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
did.
I think you were here for most of the creation piece.
Yes, I was for all that, but Alan's had us at 8:30 today. So that was the last email and that's when I looked at.
Oh.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Are you still there, Amanda?
I am, yeah.
If we wanted to start I was playing around with it yesterday, and if we wanted to start creating lessons, I had some curriculum that I wanted to start working with, putting it on in assignments and modules, but without any students. Should we just make up a fake student and try to create a class, or?
You don't even have to create your class, you don't have to have students in it. So
So I can create a class but then when the district creates a class for me, will those two be synced together, or will they?
we'll import the content into your student created class.
So I can create a class and start creating things, and then that can get imported.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, Debbie, right now we have some different schools actually working on it together as grade levels. And so they're working on it in their course scenario. And then like Amanda said, we can just transfer it over.
So would that mean I would need somebody's already working on a unified curriculum that we're all going to do the first couple of weeks, or I can go ahead and?
Yeah, we're developing a template for all grade levels, TK through 5. And what that'll look like is a shell of all of the different curriculum that we've adopted, standards aligned. And then once we have that shell, we're developing it for 4 weeks at a time right now, for the first 4 weeks. And then once that's delivered, and that's kind of like the curriculum writers and what Amanda was talking about over the next couple of days, we'll be working with them. And so then once we have that shell, then like the work you've done, Debbie, and other schools, you can pour that into the TK or the 3rd grade or the 5th grade to expand the offerings. And then as a teacher, you'll have all these standards aligned options for us to be able to use in your classrooms. Yeah. And then, turn this one on, turn this one off, etc.
Okay. Thanks. I just want to be ready.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Amanda, did you say we have collaboration trainings this week also? I didn't get an email about that.
Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8:30 to 12:30. And it's in the email Alan sent that had kind of the attachment that said.
I got no email from Alan. I just checked my emails.
Okay, I'll make sure I forward that to you.
Thank you. I'd appreciate it.
That was Terry, right?
Yes, thank you.
And Karen?
I have a question. We will still have to input our grades into the IC for report cards, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's going to happen is you, and it's a little complicated and stuff as far as I think what we're trying to get done on our end, but you will end up being associated, even though you're still going to back to your home site, most likely after all of this is over, like that's the goal. But for this first semester at least, you will actually be associated with all the sites that you have students in, so that you'll be able to take attendance. If you've got a couple kids in your class from Earl Warren, you'll be able to take attendance for them from Earl Warren. If you've got a couple kids in your class from Albert Hill, you'll be able to take attendance from Albert Hill. And then you'll be able to you'll be able to write their report cards in each school's Infinite Campus.
our 100% online teachers actually might go through the school year. But yeah, you're right. We'll transition those teachers back to their campuses once the online 100% learning, falls off.
All right. I'm going to talk a little bit about communication because, obviously as a teacher, we all know communication is important, but as a distance learning teacher, it becomes kind of like the most important thing you can do, second to obviously connecting with the students. So I want to talk about a couple of ways to do that. So we've got communicating with the students and families, and I've got some different slides talking about different ways we can communicate with them. So we've got announcements in Canvas. So this is going to be a great way just to get out like specific information, whether it's information about a particular assignment or the things that are happening that week. I want to let you know just really quickly, I want to show you, because I think this is super important for our little ones. When we're looking at notifications, it tells me like, these are all the things I can get notifications about. And one of those things is announcements. So when an announcement has been created, I want my students to know. So I want them to select like, notify me right away if the teacher makes an announcement. Now, right now, I have my email address associated with this. Now, in settings for our little ones, I want our parents to add their email address, right? So we can add email addresses, or parents can add their phone number in and they can get text messages notifying you that an alert or an announcement has been made or something's been graded or a teacher's made a comment on their work, so that we make sure that they're as on top of the information as possible that we're disseminating to the students. So I would highly encourage you having a parent add their email address. I know that the plan is to create observer accounts for parents in Canvas, where they'll be able to log in with their own credentials and they'll be linked to their students. So they should see that information as well through that avenue. But in the event that that doesn't happen, I want you guys to be aware that parents can link their email address here so they'll get the notifications.
Oh, it'll happen. It'll happen.
Okay.
Can they have both, like their cell number and their email in the settings?
Yes. So you can add an email here, and you can add other contacts, and then they can put their cell number here. They just type in their number, they select their carrier, and it creates this email for them. When they click register, it's going to send them a code, and that's just a verification code. They type that verification code in, and then yes. So under that student account, you should see any email addresses associated with them and any phone numbers, so they get the text message.
Okay. So
Janice, I think that the observer account is going to be the best way to go. Automatically adding because we'll go based off of what we have for them in Parent Square, and that should create the observer account.
Okay, because last year I just added everything in that I had at the beginning so that they couldn't skip out on me.
Yeah.
Which they did at the end of the school year anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Parent entered email. Is it appropriate to invite to Zoom meeting? Like if they get the links to the Zoom meetings, Karen, is that what you mean?
Yeah, they just decided to opt out.
Mm-hmm.
My whole entire class. But it was TK. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Do I feel announcements will take over Parent Square messages or posts, or will we still use? So Parent Square is still going to be, I think, used. I think I think it kind of depends. Like I've used parent observer accounts on select kids. I've never seen it rolled out like with my whole class. So that's kind of gonna be like one of those, let's see how it goes kinds of things. Whether having the observer account is enough for the announcements. It may be that Parent Square is something that is like the main school notification tool. And then for our purposes, it works better to do announcements in Canvas. We're kind of gonna have to see how that goes, Christy.
Yeah, what we found, Amanda, during summer school is that we utilize both Parent Square and the announcements through Canvas. Since the students are inside of the Canvas on a daily basis, that it worked really, really well.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so announcements. I wanted to show you guys about connecting the email and connecting the cell phones. In course settings, you guys can set it up so that students see the announcements for the most recent announcements on their homepage. So let me just kind of show you an example of that. So here you can see recent announcements, and these were the way to set that up so that they see it right there on their home screen is down here in settings. These are your course settings. You're going to scroll all the way to the bottom of course details, and you're going to click on more options. And it's the very first option, show recent announcements on course homepage. And you can select, do I want my most recent, 2, 3, 4, it might be a little much to get all the way to 15, but you know, I think 3 is kind of a good number depending on how many you're sending out. And then you update that, and then students would see their most recent 3 there on the top of their homepage. But anytime they click on announcements, they would see all of them that were made for the course.
That 3 days worth or 3 separate things?
That's my most recent 3 announcements. So
like 3 sentences.
3. So each one of these is an announcement. So it's the full, like it's a link to the full announcement that has all the information I wanted to give them about their final grade breakdown.
So if you put announcements on Monday and then on Tuesday they're gone?
Nope, it stays there until it's not in the most recent 3 anymore, or whatever number. So
okay, so it's over by day. I mean, the 3 recent days.
It has nothing to do with days. It depends on if you're posting an announcement every day, then yes, it would be by days. But here, like I posted an announcement January 12th, and then I didn't post another one until February 28th. So those were my most recent 2. And so they didn't go away by day unless I create more to make them go away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I felt like I was getting convoluted in how I was saying that. All right, so, and like I said, you can choose anywhere between the most recent 1 and 15. So you decide like based on how many you put out there. So you can use Canvas email as well. So Canvas has an inbox, and that's right over here on your left-hand screen. When I click on it, I've got all my messages that I've gotten from students. You can choose who you want to, or which courses you're going from. You can do it from your favorited courses, which are the ones that are in your dashboard. When I click on compose a new message, I select my course. Maybe I want to write to I think art is in here. So Arthur McMahon is in that class. I wanted to write to him. So anytime you start typing in a student's name, it's gonna come up with all the options, and then you decide who you want to write to. put my subject and then type my content just like I would in an email. You can put attachments. You can also record and put a message, your voice message or a video message in there. You can write to particular students. You can write to the entire class. You can write to other teachers. My favorite thing about using those kinds of messages is the message students who feature, and that's found in the Canvas gradebook. So when you click on grades from your course, we've got all our kids who were in there, right? So from here, I can message students who haven't submitted yet. So maybe they're like a week late, and I can message students who haven't turned it in yet. Message students who haven't been graded. Maybe I'm like super behind and I just want to let them know, don't worry, I got your stuff, but I'm just, you know, a little behind on my grading. Scored less than. So if you get a student who scored 50% or lower on an assignment, maybe you want to message those kiddos. Or scored more than. You get like your A kids and you want to like send them a "that's awesome" message. You can do that too. And then it will change this. So scored more than, and if I wanted to say like 5 points, then you can change this subject like "you're awesome" and then put your message in here. And it would send it to all those kids who scored more than 5 or less than, depending on what your option was. So I think that's a really great communicator. Students then, when they log in, will see next to this little inbox, one of these little number bubbles. So they'll know, oh, I have 3 messages. I better go check my inbox, you know, and they'll get their little emails, or parents to their Observer account should get those emails as well. All right, so communicating with students and families using video messages. So you've got Studio in Canvas to create videos, and I'm not going in, I didn't go over Studio that much, but I'll do just a real quick right now. But those videos can be posted in announcements, and it's a good option for just your weekly, hey, this is what we're gonna do this week. You can also, from creating those Studio videos, you can create a link. So you can send that link out on Parent Square. You can send that link out through Remind if you're using Remind. And I think just creating the videos is just a great like way to create little tutorials, or, you know, walk through step by step, or even students can send them back to you and say, it's not working, here's what I see, you know. So I just want to show you kind of a real quick. So when you're in, just going to delete this real quick. So when you're in your announcements, you can embed from here. Canvas Studio is one of your links. And I created a welcome to week 1 video, and I just want to do a standard embed. So I put that in there. So I titled it, watch this video for an introduction to your week 1 assignments. And then I save it. Now when students play it.
Hi guys, welcome to the first week of school. I just wanted to let you know that you will be working on the following assignments for this week. So let me just get to them very quickly. So for week 1, I just want you to remember that you can reach your daily direct instruction link by clicking on this daily Zoom links page. You'll click on the button for the period that you need to attend, whether it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11:30, or 12:30. Just make sure you're attending the correct class. We will be going over information about the story, The Necklace, this week. There are videos in this page, and there is an assignment that you need to use those videos in order to answer. We'll also be reviewing parts of speech nouns this week. We will be completing a pre-reading discussion, and then I will be adding in a post-reading discussion. You will be reading the story, The Necklace. We will be taking a quiz to go over the nouns that you learned about this week. And finally, to deepen and enhance that understanding and the themes of the story, The Necklace, you will be creating or answering these short response questions to the necklace. Each one of those responses needs to be about a paragraph long, and there are 2 of them. If you have any questions, please be sure that you use this Canvas inbox to reach out to me and ask your questions so that I can clarify anything you need. I hope you guys have a great week, and I can't wait to see you at our first Zoom meeting.
So that's just one way you can utilize kind of a video announcement instead of it always being words. And I think that's a lot better for our little ones too. Messages and announcements are different. I think that announcements are going out to your whole class. All right. For the most part, I would use announcements to get out to your whole class. So now my whole class, did I set it up right? Yeah. My whole class sees, watch this video for an introduction to your week 1. And then if I'm using messages, that's more to individual students or just a small group of students that maybe need a reminder about something or something like that. For Zooms, I would create a recurring link, Karen, and you will take attendance daily. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be at a certain time. It just has to be like before the 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Can you make longer videos? Like, can you do a teaching video that lasts like 15 minutes?
Absolutely, yeah. So when you're in Studio, and we'll just do a quick review of Studio over here. You can click this record button. And you can choose to do a screen capture or a webcam capture. When you're in screen capture, like if you had a PowerPoint or something like that, it would capture that.
Is it up here at the top at the left you're looking at?
Upper right. I clicked on Studio over on the left.
Okay.
And then it should take you to a thing that says My Library or No Videos. I don't know if you don't have any videos, what it says. But then in the upper right of that, you should have a record, add, search button.
So
yeah, I just did it on my other computer. It does have a record button. I see it.
Okay.
So that would record from your camera on your laptop, whatever you're doing.
Yes. So if you're doing your webcam, it's just your face, you know, like if you're doing an announcement. If you're doing screen capture, then it gives you the option. So at first, if it's the first time you're ever doing it, it's going to download this screen recorder launcher. After that, that's on your computer. And now you kind of see like it grayed out a bit. And that is the screen that's getting captured. If I wanted to minimize that, I could. So I make that whatever screen I'm wanting to capture. You've got the option to just record your screen. You've got the option to have the screen and your face in there. And then you can go through your PowerPoint. Just like when you were watching my announcement, anytime you take your mouse and hover, it like makes that little yellow circle. So like if there was something like wanting to point out and you took your mouse and hovered over it, it would make that yellow circle to hover over that. And then once you create it, you'll hit publish. Like after you stop the recording, I've got this red record button down here. As soon as I'm ready to start, it gives me a countdown. It gives me a 3, 2, 1, and then I know it's recording. And then when you stop the recording, you can pause the recording and then come back to it, or you can stop it if you're done. Once you stop it, then you're going to save it and it's going to publish it to your library here.
Just to clarify, because I know you're describing different areas of the screen, but I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
I don't know if it's not coming up because it's on shared screen or something.
Maybe.
But to clarify, the video that you showed us, You're Welcome to Week 1, has a video of yourself as you're pointing to your screen.
Yes.
There's an option to pick both.
Yes, that's the option you pick. If you want yourself in that little corner, and you're also sharing the screen, that's the both option.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
If
welcome.
if you do a video like I had a bunch I did on YouTube, Amanda,
Yes.
from before, can I put those in Canvas and then
Yes, you can
kids no
upload.
longer they're not just linking to YouTube, they're like, it's actually embedded?
Right. So if you've got so you click add here and you can add your YouTube URL for whatever video.
Right.
And then you copy and paste the URL in there and click add. So if, for instance, I went to YouTube and I typed in irony literary term, right? And then this was the irony video I had.
As we transition.
So I copy that from YouTube, and then I go back into Canvas, make that, and I paste it here, and then hit add. Now my video's in there. So if you've created videos, uploaded them to YouTube, that's a super easy thing to do.
Very cool.
From here, you can create quizzes in those videos. So I'll just show you how to do that very quickly. You can choose to hide the question markers on the timeline. So kids aren't gonna, if you hide the question markers, kids are not gonna see where the questions are. So sometimes, especially secondary kids, but maybe like some, elementary kids too, they just wanna get to the question so they can answer it, and then they're missing really the content. So you can hide the question markers, that way they don't see it. And then you hit get started. If I'm playing this video.
As we transition from childhood into adulthood, we begin to realize that things.
Let's say I get here and I wanted to add a question. I could add a multiple choice question, a true false question, or a multiple answer question. So it gives you only those 3 answer choices, but I think that's a fair amount to at least ensure that they're watching the video. When you, so let's say I wanted to say a multiple choice. I would type in my question, I would type in my answer choices. I could add more answer choices here. You can shuffle the choices. You can even give them feedback, like for the correct answer, for the incorrect answer, go back and watch that part of the video again, or something like that.
Where would you see their answers?
So when you have your video, like when you've embedded this, and we can do like a specific studio training, but when I've embedded this into my course, let's see. So my kids took an English 12A orientation quiz. So I can go to Insights. I can see who watched it. I can click on a specific student and see if they watched the whole thing. And then quiz results. I can see an item analysis, or I can see student results. And I can see how many times they took it, how they scored, how long they spent on each one. I can see their choices that they made. So that's under Insights. insights and quiz results when you go to that specific assignment. So if I'm wanting to create an assignment, just to show you what that looks like. Orientation quiz. It looks a little different. You're going to, your submission type is going to be an external tool. And you're going to link to your Canvas Studio. And you're going to choose. So I want my orientation. And I want the quiz one. So if you do standard embed, that's just going to be the video. If you want the quiz, you're going to make sure you choose the video quiz embed. You can also create different numbers of quizzes. Like maybe I asked certain questions for this group of students, but I asked different questions for a different group on the using the same video. So you can create different quizzes within each video. Then I would hit embed, select, save and publish. And then this is what the kids would see. They'd go into that assignment, they'd click get started. It would take them through the video and it would pause when they get to the question. So I think creating those little videos are just great for not only announcements, but also just quick tutorials, and then also for disseminating like content information and making sure they're, you know, watching it and understanding it. And then our other tools are going to be Parent Square. You can post announcements and, you know, for your class to the guardians. You, as a virtual teacher, especially when we are putting out a lot of announcements, but not really getting any feedback back or know whether they're really like interacting with that announcement too much. I mean, I know Parent Square tells you who received it and who read it, but I would definitely suggest as virtual teachers that you look into Google Voice, because that will connect a different phone number to your cell phone, so you can reach out to parents, but they're not getting your personal number if that's something you're worried about. And Google Voice can get calls back from them to your mobile device using that alternative number. They can leave you voicemails and things like that. And then I've also in the past used Remind for our older kids, because so many of them have devices and they're looking at that much more than they're looking at like their Canvas inbox. And then we're going to have these expectations as far as direct instruction. So there's going to be direct instruction expected every day with your students. The schedule is still being determined in negotiations, so I'm not sure what the day will look like exactly, except I do know there will be live direct instruction with your students. You can use Zoom or Teams, whatever format you're most comfortable with. And the nice thing is we can embed those meeting links so that they can easily access those direct instruction sessions by putting those buttons like I had in those pages. Or, as I was saying before, with Teams, let me just show you that really quickly, if that's one you're more comfortable with. Let's say here in modules, I wanted to add assignment. I don't think it has to be in an assignment. I think it can be in an announcement or anything. But that's just the one I chose, sorry. We can embed straight from here Microsoft Teams meetings, and you can calendar it. So you're going to sign in. Create a meeting link, and let's say I wanted to meet tomorrow at 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. I would say Mrs. Klopp's class meeting. Create. I would copy it, and then it puts it right there. So the kids can just click on that, and then at the time at the 8 o'clock. So, and I could add instructions above it, like to our teams meeting at 8 a.m. And then they just click on it. So Zoom, and we can put those links into the buttons. We can even, make this a link in a button. You just have to create them in Teams on your calendar. Questions on communications?
Can you put a Canvas link in Teams so that they can go back the other direction?
Yeah, I think so. In the chat with them, you can put a link to your Canvas course.
Yeah. And they'll still be enrolled, so it'll just go right in. I mean, if they're within Teams, they'll still be signed in. So.
They're logged in, yeah.
Is it the same login?
Yeah.
For both? Yeah.
Yeah, they're both Microsoft, or both Microsoft authentication.
So we don't know yet with attendance on how, like if we have 3 direct instruction for the day, whether that's a full day, if they make 1 of them or 2, that hasn't been decided yet. Is that what I understood?
The understanding from the bill, from the Senate bill that was written, is that there is daily live contact with the certificated teacher. It doesn't delineate a time or anything like that. So if a student attends a portion of your Zoom meeting, they can get attendance. But obviously that's not ideal. We'll give them attendance, but we want to make sure they're learning. And that's where the communication piece comes in with families, reaching out, making sure students are doing more than just attending a short part of your direct instruction, that they're, interacting the full day, whether it's with the teacher, with the students, or with the curriculum on Canvas.
So most of the time on the direct instruction, with the Zoom meetings, do you try to cover, so on your daily schedule, do you try to, in your Zoom meeting, then get in your direct, instruction lesson, check for understanding, have them show you, that they understand the concepts all in one meeting? I guess I'm just thinking time-wise, how that's gonna work. And also if, the assignments that you make, if the protocol is that they do those independently. And so basically what you're doing in your Zoom meeting then is you're teaching the lesson again, and doing all the things that you would do in the classroom, but you're only doing that one time. Because I guess what I'm a little confused on is, at 8 o'clock, front to 9 o'clock is reading, let's just say 9 to 10 is math. So you wouldn't do a Zoom meeting for each specific time increment, would you? Or, is it whatever? Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's okay, I overspoke on you. So it depends really on how you want to set it up. I don't think that that's gonna come, again, it all has to be negotiated and everything. I don't think it's gonna be like, this is what you have to do for this whole hour. If you wanna set it up where you're working in small groups during your reading time, so you can hear everybody reading individually or things like that, then maybe during that hour reading time, you've got group A and group B, and group A is working independently for the first 30 minutes while you're meeting with group B, and then you meet with group B while group A is working independently. So you're still going to have some autonomy on how you run your Zoom meetings. And you can make it look as much like your classroom as you're comfortable with, doing virtual form.
Okay, well, like I say, I like the idea of making it look as much as possible like our, at least for me, I think that would make it a lot easier for me than trying to reinvent a different, you know, format or whatever. So like,
we know, especially with the little ones, like whole group, their minds are going to be wandering, and
oh yeah,
it's much better to work small groups with them. But the kids who aren't working in that current small group know, like, I'm supposed to do these independent assignments, or you know, do this to prepare for my, you know, so yeah.
Well, that I have a question then, Amanda. So when you know, in the classroom, what I used to do for reading was, you know, I'd have two groups. So one was we were doing the National Geographic small group and doing this, you know, the assignment or the activity. The other group would do Lexia. So is Lexia something too that during that reading time, even though it's a, you know, it's a virtual class, can you still set it up that way? I mean, can Lexia be embedded into Canvas so that, you know, for that first 20 minutes or whatever, they're doing Lexia, you're working with, you know, the smaller group, and then the last 20 minutes you're doing something whole class. Is that possible to do on the virtual assignment?
Yeah, we can you can embed the links to Lexia. So just like on my page there, where we've got the Monday button to get to the meeting, you know, you can say group A is meeting with me right now. Group B, we're gonna go do Lexia for 20 minutes. And then in 20 minutes, we're gonna switch. So that can just be something that you put into your, I lost my class here. Hold on, sorry. That can just be something you put into your schedule.
And is there, I know this is going to sound stupid, but second graders, it's like if you say 20 minutes, you might as well say 20 hours.
Right.
So is there like a little timer or something that you could put on their, the kids that are on Lexia to kind of remind them, oh, 20 minutes is up and I need to go back into the Zoom meeting?
Well, and they'll have, if they're all working on an iPad device, you know, that's given from the school for this time, they'll be able to set, you could set a timer, or if they're just, you can kind of have a timer running on your background that says, okay, you know, now we're going to switch or whatever.
So if they're on Lexia too, during the Zoom meeting, do I still have visual? I mean, do I get to watch them to make sure so that if, like, let's say little Johnny is starting to, like, you fade out, I can go, oh, you know, just make sure that you're working, you know, and stuff, to kind of redirect them? Or did they?
They have their camera set up that if they're logged in and they have their camera set up, you should still be able to see them even though they're working out of the Lexia app.
Oh, good, 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 good. That's always a good thing, so.
I have a question. No, she was talking about Lexia. What about Imagine Learning? Do they still have to be on their 20 minutes every day?
We'll still have the EL instruction requirements, but I think that the expectations again are probably going to be discussed in what we're doing to support those students during the virtual time. So I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
But I do know we're still required obviously to service our EL students. So I'm just not sure what it's going to look like each given day. So we talked a little bit about you guys creating your curriculum, and I'm going to reach out to your kind of curriculum elementary leads and just make sure that they know even more than I, because I'm not coming from an elementary background, about like the Nat Geo and all of those curriculum pieces that you're using. I just know what my own kids use. So there are a lot of integrations, Flipgrid, Nearpod, CK12. I know that Heather was saying we can link to Go Math, we can link to Nat Geo, we can get like a redirect button for Seesaw and those kinds of things. So that's what you guys will be working on for these next 3 days. there are a lot of apps that you guys use in the elementary level, like Lexia and Epic and things like that. And we can definitely make sure that we find ways to get links to that stuff embedded and be able to redirect them from Canvas so that they're hopefully spending a majority of their time on Canvas and able to get to everything they need to from this kind of one-stop shop.
Okay.
I did mention that you guys will be teaching kids from various schools. What that's going to mean, and hopefully it's not going to be too much of a need on your end, is that you're actually, let's say you're the TK teacher and you've got kids from all 14 schools. You're going to have 14 different little classes with like the 2 or 3 kids from every school in it. So we will get it to a point we can cross-reference the classes so it looks like just one class on your dashboard, not 14 different classes. But just know, like, from an Infinite Campus point of view, because every kid is still technically enrolled at their own school, that's kind of how it happens. You get like a couple kids from each school, so you have a course from each school, but we can smush them into one so it looks like just one class on your end on the dashboard, and that way any change you're making in that one class is getting pushed out to all of them.
Okay, well, as long as I know who I've got in my class, it doesn't matter. I'll go to wherever.
Yeah. Yeah, and they'll all be in there. They'll all be on your grade book as the whole class, but you would be able to like sort them by school if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just look at them all as one class.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, I really want you guys to know that, like Ryan said earlier, like this is my job now for the next maybe semester, maybe whole year, we'll see. So I am here to support you 100% in the virtual learning and doing as much as I can to help troubleshoot, to, find answers for you if I don't know them. The Canvas help guides are amazing. I will send you guys this email or this PowerPoint. I am putting together a resource page just to give you little training videos on a lot of the different pieces. So that hopefully you'll have something you can go to that's just like a quick reference page. But I'm here to support you in all things distance learning. So whatever you need,
Thank you.
So this is kind of the end, but we can certainly stay on and answer questions. But it's up to you if you feel like I got it or my brain's about to explode, I need to go. Whatever you guys putting this PowerPoint together, I was like, oh my gosh, so much information. So
will make a comment? Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to let everyone know, in the navigation, there is that help, as she mentioned, but that telephone number, even after hours, and if you're one like me that works late at night or sometimes you can't sleep, you can call them. It's 24 hours, and they're very, very helpful if you get stuck on something with Canvas and you want to know what to do. They are very, very helpful. So there is that additional feature in Canvas.
Yes, that's awesome. And they do. They're really good about like trying to find information. If you're reporting a problem, it creates a little ticket. So if it's just a quick little thing and you don't have access to me or you need something right away, definitely that hotline will work. If it's a big problem, like some big thing's not working, we can submit a ticket, and then they're really good about getting back to you within about a 24-hour period and finding.
Well, no, they will stay on the line with you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they'll stay on the line with you and answer your questions, and they can mirror your screen, so they'll see what you're referring to just by there, because they'll be able to ask you what section you're in, what cell you're using, and then they'll be able to see your screen to assist you.
Where's that phone number, Karen? This is the other Karen.
Oh, if you're on help, like if you're on the left side of your Canvas screen, all the way down in the bottom of that blue column is a help. You click on it.
That's it? Okay. Thank you.
Search Canvas guides, Canvas support phone hotline, and then it's got a number there.
Got it. That's perfect. Thank you. Is micro-credentials still in business over the summer? Do we wait until the fall before we can kick in and take classes on that?
You can still take them, but I think the amount is still, I don't know if Ryan's still in here.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, you can, no matter what, you can still take it. They reduced because it's all based on money they have on hand. So they reduced the total to 300 a year, which the micro-credential is a level 5, which is 250. So yeah, that's still an option.
Okay.
Is our person going to be contacting us for tomorrow morning on our links?
Yes, I'm gonna send them an email after this meeting, and then they're gonna reach out to you. And I talked to Alan because you were the only 3rd grade teacher with the other 2nd grade teachers, and the other 2 3rd grade teachers were with the other trainer. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So I put you with the other 2 3rd grade teachers, and then the 5th grade teachers.
Well, I can. Ann used to be at Lusenia with us long ago.
Yeah, almost 20 years.
I'm still around. Yes.
It's almost 20 years since I've been gone.
I know. I was around then.
Yep.
Amanda?
Yeah.
Okay, you said I should, this is Karen Lane. You said I should go to the K1, then the 2nd, and then the 3-5. Are they at different times?
They're at different times, but every group is meeting each day from 8:30 to 12:30. So you'll just go one day from 8:30 to 12:30 with the K1.
Okay.
Wednesday, go from 8:30 to 12:30 with the 2nd grade, and then Thursday, go 8:30 to 12:30 with the 3-5.
Okay, and somebody will send me an invitation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This question is more, it's not really tied into the teaching virtually, but like when will we be able to go into our classrooms to get TEs and other things that we might need to help support us in this?
I think that's being decided in negotiations this week when you might have access to your classrooms and stuff like that.
Cool. Thank you.
This PowerPoint, it makes it very, very clear. I know I've taken Ryan's class a couple times and taken notes, and this sort of summarizes everything. So it's really extremely helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
For the effort it took to put this
Having
together.
like kind of some of those previous, trainings. So you had some knowledge of like the verbiage and all that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, I'll definitely send this out.
Does anyone know if there's a spot where all of our curriculum, since I have not been using the Lake Elsinore District curriculum, where it's all housed, where I can look at it and say, oh, this is what we're using, that's the Lake Elsinore District adopted?
A lot of stuff's on Clever.
Yeah, I just put in the chat, but that's one thing. Dana, Christina, Heather, and I have already worked on that. The best thing that we figured out as elementary teachers to do is we're going to do a redirect of the redirect so that the kids just have to click on the Clever button that we'll create on the homepage. And that's going to take them to, they'll have Nat Geo, Go Math, we'll have all of that. We could put Epic in there. That way they just have to click one time.
Can Happy Numbers go in there too by any chance? Because that was also a really good app for them, when we were off in spring.
We can, I believe Dana put, because Happy Numbers is more lower grade, but I know my daughter used it. I know Dana uses it. I believe we can, I'll play around with that right now, and I'll try to put Happy Numbers into Clever, because that would be the best bet, so they could just click that Clever. But I'll work on that for you guys.
Thank you.
I have a question. Do you know if Raz Kids can also be added to the Clever?
I believe it can. We were just talking about that on Saturday. I'll check that one too.
Okay.
Yeah, Raz Kids is amazing. So yeah, that's a good program.
Can you put a button for Jupiter Ed somewhere in Canvas?
You guys,
Ryan, do you know?
Within Clever, you can actually make a teacher page and add all that content. So anything that you have, because it has to be done on each It might be a little bit gnarly if it's added for each school site. So if you have something specific, then you'll have a Canvas course for that. It might be a little bit different that it's in there. But if you just put the link within Canvas, then it's going to take them there anyway, because there's no authentication for Jupyter. Like, just to use that example, you just put it as a link. So if you add either an external URL or you add, like Mandy was referring to, the redirect tool, what it basically does is add a link to something in your Canvas course. So you might have seen it, especially because you guys are elementary folks, that if you go to your course, you'll see that there's a Seesaw link. That's just a redirect that I did at the district level. So then it's just in all of the elementary courses. It works the same exact way. It basically takes those little, if you remember when Amanda was talking, or Amanda Pop was talking about the navigation features, it works the same exact way. It just makes a new link for them too. So if you have like your core, like we're going to use it, like something to kind of keep in mind how you have your schedule or your like do this basically, kind of remembering that kids are going to be logged in when they do that. So if it needs to like authenticate to go into a different program, a lot of times that's just going to keep that login. Now in the classroom, that's the frustrating thing where you say, God, this kid is still logged in and I know I logged them out and I cleared the cache and all that. But when they're working in like a one-on-one environment, or they're not using a shared iPad or something, then we can kind of steer into that, because that's going to save us a little bit of time. So if they click, remembering that they're still logged in through Office 365, they click a link to Office 365 within Canvas, they don't have to log in again because they're already logged in. If they click a link to Nat Geo, they don't have to log in again because they're already logged in. So it's sort of, it's not replacing Clever, but it's saving them from having to go to two different places, because that's where kids are just like, I don't know what the heck is going on. Like I click the button and so it's going back and forth between using an actual student, because a lot of times test student is great to look at what it looks like from a student perspective, but something that just kind of keep in mind. You can use Peyton Mulvaney if you want to add her to your class. I'll send you her information. But if you log in as them, then you see what it looks like from an actual student's perspective. Because if Amanda were to have a link to like a Word document, if I click that as test student, there's no such person that has a Microsoft account called test student. It has to go in as, like a Peyton Mulvaney or an actual student. So you can usually do that by,
Really fast. So then if we had hypothetically a Clever button, Ryan, within Canvas, right?
Yep.
So if they push the Clever button, and we already have a teacher's page that we've made that has like the happy numbers, the seesaw, and all that on there. So is what you're saying is then that eliminates like, the confusion of everything, that you would just say, push the Clever button, and go to my teacher page, and you will find those links under there. Is that what you're saying? Is that possible?
Yes, that's one of the things I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Great. Yay.
That's exactly what we're actually going to be doing with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
We already have it set up on our practice pages, and we'll show you how to make it even a button and not just a link on the left. That for the little ones, so they don't have to read it. It'll be the icon, and we're going to attach that redirect to the icon.
Yeah. The big thing to keep the big thing to kind of keep in mind, which is kind of nice, is when kids are logged into Canvas, they're logged into like not an infinite amount, but a lot of different tools as well. So what Mandy's saying is like, if you already got them to Canvas to click the cute little button that goes to happy numbers or whatever, then you're kind of leaning in a little bit that they already figured out how to get to Canvas. And so if we can say from like a tech, because remember, you're gonna have parents calling the school, calling the district. If we can say, if we can get to the point where we say, go to Canvas, and then there'll be a whole bunch of, right? We don't need to explain, oh, well, there's like an HTML linked button that they used on the button factory. That doesn't matter. Just like go to Canvas and then click on the cool stuff that the teachers made. then it sort of becomes that landing spot. And then all the great stuff that you guys add just becomes, you publishing different things or kind of figuring out what else you need. To kind of echo that though, I think like we'd be remiss to like not realize that we're going to be figuring this out together. Yes, like Amanda's the lead on this and she'll be great, but no one, no one, I think in the group here, like signed up to, well, maybe Ann Sim, she was at KMA, so that she gets a pass on that one. But no one really signed up for all this COVID-19 stuff to happen. So we're going to keep putting on trainings and things like that. But as you guys like come up with little like questions or successes, then that's how this is all going to work, is that you guys feel like you're not alone and that like you can ask, there's no dumb questions. There's no like, oh, well, you should know that or anything, because no one needed to know that. So our job 100% is to support you guys. But then also when we set up that team, it's going to be, we want it to evolve into where we kind of have like everybody's cell phone numbers, where we can use that as a way to just communicate great things, right? Like, hey, guess what? This works now or whatever. But also like, oh my God, like I have no idea what to do for science. Like who can help me with that? And then we'll figure all that out together, because we're, we owe it to our kids, and you guys are sort of forging a path that maybe you thought you'd never be able to.
Never been traveled before.
Yeah. But I mean, you guys are amazing. Like we've got the people. That's the hardest thing to do. The tech and the tools, those are neat, but getting the people and getting the experience and knowing that you guys want to help your kids and get them learning and everything, that's the hardest part. And I'm glad we got such an awesome group as you guys, and varied and different experiences, because that actually helps a little bit, because sometimes we get in our own little kind of pigeonholed. Okay, well, this is the way we've done it before. So we've never done it before. So we get to kind of figure that out together. So a little bit of terrifying, but maybe it'll be awesome.
Terrifying is a good word.
Yeah, but we'll have an awesome like happy hour recap like in January or something. Yeah. When we finally meet to
Well, thank you so much for everything.
You're welcome. I hope it, cleared some things up, but I just want to reiterate, like, any questions you guys have, just shoot me an email, or I put my phone number on there, so I'll do my best to walk you guys through it.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, guys.
Hey. Oh my God, yeah.
Does anyone, Amanda, do you know, does Teams allow you to see more than 4 people?
I think it allows you to see up to 9.
Oh, it's up to 9 now? Okay.
Up to 49 on the next.
Teams is,
I know they were working on expanding that. It's up to 49?
Teams has just matched Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you can see like the whole class.
You can.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm throwing in the chat, I added there's a little like tour too. And what's great is if you end up using Teams, and you can share that there's a link that goes from like the student view that's kind of nice too. So.
Oh.
How many hours a day are we supposed to plan for? I mean, are we figuring in breaks and things? Is it like from 8 to 2 or 8 to noon?
Decided.
Yeah, the Senate bill, we don't have anything decided because all of that has to go through negotiations. But the Senate Bill 98 language is basically that it's the same sort of like they were in school, not necessarily the same instructional minutes, because when they released it, they thought there'd be different options. When Newsom came out last week, that kind of changed things up a little bit, but it's meant to be the biggest thing that I think your guys' colleagues that are in the sort of distance learning, what they'll need to realize, and hopefully you guys picked up from the discussions today, is that it's not going to be like it was like in April. It's a lot more designed, I guess would be the best way to say it, from the state level. When we went to just enrichment, it was like, you know what, do whatever. Like in some districts, they were sending home like a packet that were like, yeah, just do this and we'll see you in the fall. The state really changed their sort of requirements to this sort of the distance learning to require, not just like suggest that it might be a good idea. but to require daily live interaction, that require standards aligned that's comparable to if they were in the classroom. Because they're thinking long term. You can't, I mean, you guys are elementary, so I'm kind of preaching the choir. There's no like acceptable amount of time you could take off. That used to be my least favorite parent question. Like, hey, we're gonna be gone like Thursday, Friday. They're not gonna do anything, right? And I'm like, yeah, no, we were just gonna play with puppets and everything. It's perfect timing, right? Like it's important, like instructional moments, even not even minutes. And so I think that's what they're doing to try to prevent as much learning loss as possible. You need to be a little bit different than just suggestions to go online.
Now we can teach from anywhere too. In other words, if we go out of state or something like that, can we still be teaching from where we are?
There's no, I mean, I'm going to go to your house every day and make sure you're there. So no, of course. Yeah.
I'll leave the candle burning in the window.
Just remember your time zones, I guess. So if you're in New York or whatever, you're not trying to do like a 5 a.m. session or something. There's no, prohibition about, that's one of the kind of interesting things. Obviously like best practices, if you're at like, I don't know what's open anyway with tech, but if you're at like a Starbucks or something, then make sure you're not right by the order window or things like that.
Well, there isn't like a sub. Say if I get really ill and I can't do my class, is there a sub or just for to sort of put your students on?
Yeah, we'll have to come up with that. Because I was asked to look at the sub process with personnel about what that would look like. The biggest thing is like switching to the Zoom links and things, because they'd have to go into your class. So what we did for summer lit camp is we had some Rockstar subs, and then if they went through that sub process, then the basic thing is the kids can obviously work independently, and you don't necessarily want to sub in there like doing grades and things like that. But they would change the links to their Zoom meetings.
Okay.
Or Teams or whatever it is. So, yeah. Good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda. Nice job.
No problem, Kit.
Good
Thank you.
start.